Hey everybody, Rosematter here, and welcome to part 9 of my House in Fata Morgana Let's Play. In the last episode, we started the fourth door, going all the way back to the Middle Ages, with the white-haired girl, once again, except this time she's quite a bit younger, accused of being a witch, chased by the villagers, coming across the mansion again, where a mysterious man named Michel lives, who has an affliction that apparently is a curse by a witch, where everything he touches dies. So she stays with him, they start to form a bond, and even start to fall in love. But of course, I imagine this is going to have a tragic end, like always, because it ended with a man attacking the white-haired girl. Michelle scared him off, touched him, so he's about to die. But in the, Michelle's blood ended up getting on the white-haired girl. And I imagine it's not going to go well for her, the way that it, like really specified, like, oh, the blood got on her. So it just seems like it's not just his touch, but maybe his blood also that could be potentially be poisonous. So I have a feeling that she's probably going to start dying and he's going to be in a panic trying to figure out some way to save her. So yeah, let's jump into it. Maybe we're going to finish the fourth door today, maybe not. I'm not sure. Only one way to find out. Let's continue on with the story and see what happens next. The collapse of their happiness came slowly, gradually. Perhaps it was because she had touched his blood instead of his skin. But the deterioration of the white-haired girl's health crept along at a relaxed pace. Well, immediately, just as I figured, bad stuff is happening. So it's just like, rather than a relatively quick death, it's like just slowly dying. The life was not sucked out of her in the blink of an eye, as it had been from the bandit. She merely grew progressively less and less healthy. Amidst her physical decay, she was bestowed with one blessing. Her beauty remained untouched. But as far as blessings went, surely there were others she could have been granted. Could God not have picked something a little better for her? It's like, throughout this game, it's just like, nah, she gotta stay pretty though, because that's what she's got going for her, as everybody talks about how beautiful she is. By the time the two of them realized what was happening, it was already too late. The white-haired girl had grown so weak she could hardly leave her bed. Yes? Oh, you are there. I am. Thank goodness. I can't see very well anymore. How could this happen? I thought I had saved you, but no, I did the exact opposite. Please don't talk that way. You did save me that day, so in her future lives, at one point she was blind. And she had the short hair similar to what she had here, so maybe, like, as the timelines, maybe they fuse where it's like she has collective memories of her past lives. Like in one life, she's blind because it says that she can't see very well. I think she was able to read when she was with Mel, so perhaps she remembered, like she learned how to read from Michelle, so she kept that. But you're on the cusp of death now, and it's my fault, because of this curse I bear. How? How could this happen? Why did this have to happen? What am I? Why was I given this body? Michelle, can I ask you a favor? Go ahead. Stay with me, please. As much as you can, until the very end. I was going to do as much anyways. Like, I live in a mansion by myself. I can't leave. Not really much else to do. Thank you. I'm happy, Michelle. Happier than I have ever been. And I mean that. You didn't just save my life. You saved me. I've been saved, but only me. I wonder how he'll handle things while I'm gone. If only I hadn't opened the door that day, I wouldn't be leaving him all alone. And we could be happy together for even longer. And through all this, all she cares about is him. Is like how he's going to deal with it. Let's check the backlog really quick, because I have to remember to do this, especially like as things are progressing like this. Okay, nothing so far. Yes? Would you please hold my hand? I mean, she's dying anyway. Would this quicken her death? I think it's probably safe now. I will not. I cannot touch you. If I do, I might take what remains of your life. Maybe it's gonna end with hair, because he, like, brushed her, like, he pretended to brush her hair, or, like, her ear last time, so maybe he'll actually do that, like, when she's towards the end. Or maybe he'll kiss her, I don't know. I was just like, I imagine it's going to be a very bittersweet ending. Take your beauty away and force you to die hideous, because that's what matters, right? I cannot touch you. Like, you caused this to happen. All she's asking for is for you to hold her hand, and you can't even do that for her because, oh, because then she might not be beautiful anymore. Also, because she just might die quicker, and at least they'd have time together. That glitching, though, it always throws me off, because it's so unexpected in a story like this that is so, like, old. Oh, hound ear, it's On his way back from the washroom several days later, Michelle heard muffled voices. Got it? Oh, ill am good. He was having trouble making out what they were saying, but he could tell it was several men, and they were outside the front door. The fact he could hear them at all through the heavy door meant they were probably shouting quite loudly. An indescribable sense of uneasiness came over him. Dread. He drew nearer to the door and focused on the voices on the other side. They grew clearer, enough for him to make out what the men were saying. Everything's in place. We're ready to kill this witch now. This is definitely the place. That half-dead bandit said she was in this mansion. Listen well. No matter what we find in there, we kill it. It could be a child for all I care. That doesn't change anything. Kill the witch. Kill the witch. Kill the witch. Kill the witch. What he heard beyond the door was a group of men shouting for the death of the witch. In that moment, Michel regretted his decision to let the bandit go free and not watch over him until the moment of his demise. He must have made his way down to the village in search of help, where he revealed what he had found at the mansion. Damn it! But it was too late. Regret would solve nothing. He could neither stop the villagers from raiding the house, nor could he stop the white-haired girl from dying to the effects of his curse. He was helpless to do anything. The gears of his fate had locked him onto a path of tragedy, and were turning mercilessly onward. As seems to be the case with anyone who lives in this mansion. The men had begun trying to break down the door with what sounded like a battering ram. While the first strike was not enough to breach the barrier, it was still quite powerful. He was certain it would not hold for long. Michelle's mind raced. Was there anything he could do about this predicament? It's not like he could pick up the white-haired girl and, like, bring her to a safe place. Maybe if he wrapped her up in a blanket. Like I said, as long as there's a barrier between them, he should hopefully be able to, like, hold her. How could he escape from the corner he'd been backed into? Despite his possessing inhuman powers, he'd be powerless against a full mob of adult men. The villagers almost certainly came armed as well. Michelle? A weak voice came from behind him. Aghast, he spun around to find the white-haired girl stumbling toward him. She breathed heavily, leaning against columns for support. What are you doing out here? You'll only worsen your condition by exerting yourself. I had a sinking feeling, but I heard noises on my way here. It seems that I have brought all my misfortune upon you. Don't say that. If I hadn't come here, this never would have happened. You never would have been in any danger. Please, Michelle, hand me over to the men outside. Absolutely not. I will do no such thing. They're here for the witch, aren't they? I'm guessing they're the same people who were chasing me before. The village had a poor harvest this year, I hear. Like the village in the legend. And they believe it's the witch's curse. But you're not a witch. They need someone to fill the role, though. So please, hand me over, and then escape on your own. I could never. Please, Michelle. I'm the one who's cursed, not you. And you want me to hand you over? What would I have left then? Nothing. Not a thing. I would have nothing. After so long, I finally found someone who isn't afraid of me, who won't run. I have no interest in a world that would take you away from me. Make me live alone once more. To hell with such a world. Michelle. Would you be willing to die with me? They are gonna throw themselves off the tower, aren't they? I said it from the last episode. I'm like, the tower is gonna play a part in this. Maybe they'll get to be outside. They'll get to see the sun one more time and die together. That's probably what's gonna happen, isn't it? If that's what you wish, then stay with me until the very end. Damn, this is gonna wrap up fast. Like, what? Is this already gonna be the end of the fourth door? I probably wanted to hear that just as much as him. No, not probably. I did. I wanted to have someone at my side as much as him. It's so lonely not having anyone. To live alone, to die alone, to not have anyone watching over you, for no one to even know you're dead. I simply wanted someone to tell me that they're here for me, to be there, to hold my hand. How wonderful that would be. The sense of utter relief it would bring would be enough to cast away all the pain, to allow me to accept all our suffering. So please, tell me you'll... They are, oh my god, called it. This just feels like it's ending so soon. I mean, I know like the doors tend to be about maybe like an hour and a half, 2 hours at the most, but this still feels like it's just flying by. Michelle and the white-haired girl chose to spend their final moments at the top of the observation tower. Or maybe he'll touch her and he'll throw himself off the tower, but they said they wanted to die together. But I mean, maybe just like die together in the fact that they're going to be together until the end. Because the whole thing was about not being able to touch each other, so I bet that's what's going to happen. He's going to touch her, she'll die, he'll throw himself off, or they're going to go together. They could hear the crash of the battering ram against the door, the shouts of the men and their stomping feet. But despite all that, the ray of light shining through the little window was as beautiful as always. The room's air of serenity remained unimpeached. After the long climb to the top, the white-haired girl was terribly out of breath. Michelle considered several times offering her his hand, but the possibility that doing so might rob her of her last scraps of life stayed his hand. It sounds like they broke the door. I'm glad we made it up here when we did. I'm so sorry for asking this of you. Don't be. I would have chosen here for my final moments as well. This is the one place in the mansion with any sunlight. The one place I can get a good look at you. Thank you. I'm truly glad I was able to end up here, that I was able to meet you, and more than anything, that you said you cared about me. Have I managed to become an essential part of your life? Do you even need to ask? I wouldn't be here otherwise. I feel the same as you, I'm sure of it. The two of us are more similar than you probably care to admit. Can I ask you one more thing? Go on. Would you embrace me? If this is to be the end, if this is to be my last chance, and I don't want it to end without having been able to touch you. Please don't refuse me this, Michelle. Just do it, please. I won't keep you waiting long. Thank you. The truth is, I always wanted this. I dreamed of being able to hold you. I dreamed of it too. Thank you. I'm so very... So she died? I want them to explain the curse. Like, it does seem to be a real thing. Yeah, I want to know who was this witch that cursed him and why, you know? She's still so beautiful. What a cruel joke. Would you not have given us some other miracle? One that would allow us both to survive? Where are you? Where did you get off to? I can't find her, damn it. Hey, there's some stairs over here. They lead up. Beneath a single ray of light, the white-haired girl lay completely still. Not even a frail sigh escaped her closed lips. She remained as gorgeous as ever. It was as though she had simply fallen asleep in the sunlight. Looking down upon her, Michelle determined to do one thing. I will not allow anyone to sully this sight. He gave a fleeting glance back at her pristine corpse, then opened the door and stepped through it alone. He would protect that room where she lay. Okay, it's not going the way I thought. I thought he was gonna throw himself out the tower. Hey, there's someone up here. So this is where you've been hiding, you infernal witch. Wait, that's not the girl. The raucous sound of their footsteps rang up from below. Shortly thereafter, the men themselves came into view. As he had expected, they were heavily armed. He glowered at the men, then sucked in a deep breath and shouted at the top of his lungs. I am the witch you seek. I have inherited her curse. and it is I who brings calamity upon you. You hear that? But he's a man or woman, it doesn't matter. Yeah, that's sexist to say that a man can't be a witch. Death to anyone who has ties to the witch. Men are the male witches are they warlocks? Wizards? I don't know. Can men be witches? I don't know. Cleanse this earth of all impurity. Kill him, kill him, kill him. Michel did not flinch at the sight of the men. He stood unyielding between them and the door. He did not flinch when they raised their weapons against him, nor when they pierced his body. Wow, wasn't expecting it to go this way. Kind of creepy, yeah. He does look like a witch. Like at me stereotyping. Die and take your curse with you. Ha. Ha. Well, I mean, they're still gonna get through the door, and hopefully they at least realize that she's dead, but they're probably still gonna burn her body anyway, just to be sure. I have no need for this life any longer. It's all yours. Oh, the blood is gonna get on their bodies. I am cursed to kill even that which I wish to protect. But, at the very least, I can protect one thing before my life is done. Not even one of you will leave this place, wither and die by my curse. The blood spilling from his skewered body flowed down the stairs, down and down like a little river, soaking the feet of every single man who had stormed the mansion. This was the last thing he saw before the final grains of life slipped between his fingers, which brought a faint smile to his lips. Be shitty for him if, because they're wearing clothing, they're protected and it doesn't do anything to them. But if the blood seeping through the shoes, like even just touching the shoes, still affects them, then it's, I guess it truly is impossible to defend against. Oh wait, shit, is she alive? Is this like Romeo and Juliet, where it's just like, you think that the person is dead, but they're not, and then they kill themselves? Oh no. Ah, neither of them had expected what happened next, though. For God had a most twisted sense of humor. Oh my goodness. I was thinking to myself, I'm like, what if she actually isn't dead? Maybe because she has a curse too. Maybe she can't be killed by it. The white-haired girl had not miraculously passed away without being robbed of her beauty. Why am I still alive? She had rather not passed away at all. Maybe because Michel died, she lived? Maybe he had to die in order for her to live? Quite cruel of him, was it not? Michel? Where have you gone, Michel? Michel? I smell blood. For he had allowed her to die, she would not have made to witness the scene that awaited her. No, no, and I am sure you know just what it was she laid eyes upon in that moment. The ravaged corpse of her beloved, a torrent of blood streaming down, down, down the spiral staircase, and the sickening stench it raised. No, why? And his was not the only body. The villagers who had assaulted the mansion had been subjected to his curse. The life drained from their withered shells. But they said that if it's blood, that it takes time for it to take effect. Like, I mean, even the guy who got touched by, like, it took some time for him to actually die. So, I don't know. It doesn't really quite make any sense. Let's check the backlog and just see, because quite a lot happened there. Yeah, you think, like, they would still have time to, like, step over Michelle's body and go into the door to find the white-haired girl. But no, apparently the blood just took them quite quickly. Michelle, why? Why am I the only one still alive? That is a question I cannot answer either. Perhaps his curse did not affect those he loved, as terribly cruel as that might be. Oh shit, so like, but she was sick before. She was losing her energy. I think it was a matter of he had to die in order for her to live. Because, like, that would be cruel if, like, he went his whole life not touching her, thinking that he was going to harm her, but because he loved her, he could have touched her the whole time or embraced her, but like we saw, she did get quite sick. Was it just something completely different? Another circumstantial thing that she just happened to get afflicted with that just happened to mysteriously go away after he died? I don't know. Why? You said we would go together. A world without you has no meaning. She's gonna throw herself off the tower, isn't she? Had she actually expended her life there in the room at the top of the tower, perhaps this tale could have had a happy ending. But we can't have that in this game. She would have at least been able to have the man she loved at her side until her very last moments upon this earth. But that was not what had transpired. She had survived, been left utterly alone. I felt a profound pity for the miserable girl, and she always lives at the end. She always survives, right? She tends to. I'm just trying to think, go back. Yeah, she left with Jacopo. She left. We don't know what happened to her. The previous one, with the merchant, she survived. The first one, she got cast out of the mansion, but she survived. So I called out to her. Oh, the witch Morgana. Would you like to see him once more? What? I have the power to help you meet him again. Who's there? Where are you? You know what they call this mansion. So, who do you suppose remains on these grounds? So maybe her name really is Gisele. This is the beginning. This is the very beginning. Is this when she got like the witch's curse where it's like, you can see him again. But if you make a deal with a witch, there's always going to be a catch. No way. You're from the legend. You actually exist. Now, I asked you a simple question. Would you like to see him again? The witch grants people's wishes, but at a price. I said I wouldn't ask for her assistance if I met her, but that's all changed, now that I've lost him. If it's truly possible, then yes, I want to see him, bring him back to life. Regrettably, I cannot directly meddle with the forces of life and death. However, I can guarantee you this. Your reconstruction. So maybe that's what all this is she is like doomed to kind of live an eternal life, just searching for Michelle this whole time. And every time she comes back to the mansion, that's probably why. This is why she's always drawn to the mansion in different timelines, is because that's where Michelle was. But it's always a different person. And it's like she's cursed to always, like, be attached to whoever lives in the mansion at that time. Reconstruction? Correct. To ensure you remain as yourself in future lives, and are not reborn as someone else. Your body and mind shall be reconstructed, as shall his, if you sincerely wish to reunite with one another, if you genuinely need each other in your life. So I was going to say, like, at first, maybe me being the master, maybe I am Michelle, but we saw Michelle, or we saw a flashback of Michelle, I think by touching the portrait, so maybe the master is Michelle, and he's been trying to reunite with the white-haired girl too, but they never can quite make it. All I can promise you is eternal reconstruction. What you make of it is up to you. You want to see him again, don't you? You want to hear his voice again, don't you? You want to feel his hand on your cheek once more, don't you? If that's what you want, then you must remain who you are. If you are simply reborn, that wouldn't be you. So there wouldn't be any point, would there? Me as I am. And he as he is. Make up your mind quickly. I will not wait long. I want to see him again. Hee hee hee. As you wish, sweet little girl. I shall grant you both eternal reconstruction. So maybe all of the men that were in the mansion were different versions of Michelle, but not quite Michelle. I don't know. And pray with all my heart that you can attain true happiness. But she's always doomed to tragedy in every single door we've seen. Shortly thereafter, the white-haired girl took her own life. She decided she had nothing to gain by remaining in the present time, and that in order to reunite with Michelle, she needed to make her way to her next life. And thus, the mansion was left bereft of a master, to travel slowly through the ages until someone came along to give it life once more. And that's it. Alright, so that is the origin of why we always see the white-haired girl in different timelines. Interesting. Okay. I definitely gotta check the backlog after this. And the maid probably has something to do with this as well. Like, what is her role in all this? Because she also... Is she Morgana? Is that who she is? She's the witch Morgana who's like disguises herself as the maid just to kind of like keep an eye on how things are going and to maybe push things along. But an unfathomable amount of time has passed, and the two have still yet to reunite. Have they, Master? Hee hee, you're totally Morgana, aren't you? And I bet I'm Michelle. You know now who you are, do you not? You remember everything now, do you not? You were present in every single era, the reason for which is I described in the previous tale, because you yearned to be reunited with someone. Damn! But that person never showed up in any era. And poor, sweet you, having no memory of any of that, lived those lives with other men. Is it any surprise misfortune befell those eras, then? The door swung closed, but rather than outside, you and the maid were inside the dull, monochrome room at the top of the observation tower. Wait, the way that she... Oh, wait a minute. The way that she said you were with other men, I'm like, am I the white-haired girl? All this time I thought the master was, like, a man. The awe-inspiring ray of light shone not through the lone window high upon the stone wall. Wrapped in a curious, impenetrable darkness, you both stood alone in the room. The maid wore a gentle, but brittly cold smile as she looked straight at you. It's not your fault misfortune befell you. The only force to blame for that is fate. You were always so kind, so pure of heart. Oh shit. You had boundless trust for others and the goodness of people. The game played me. All this time, like I was assuming a master. That's my own expectations. You know, betraying me. You were the very image of all that is right. There is no greater misfortune than someone as pure and beautiful as you, because you assume a master it's like, it's gotta be a man, right? Being mercilessly thrown into the grinding gears of tragedy again and again. I still pity you for everything you had to go through. You poor, poor soul. You must be utterly exhausted, constantly betrayed, the man you were waiting for never appearing. After so long, your spirit worn down to the bone, you lost any and all awareness of who you even were. Who were you hoping to find wandering into this illusionary mansion, cut off from the real world? So at this point, if I am the white-haired girl, Gisele, if that's her true name, then she did see Michelle, and like when she reached into that painting, but she hadn't had her memories back at that point, so she didn't know who he was. You and I are the only ones here. The man you seek is nowhere to be found. Have you still not figured it out? Then allow me to tell you everything. I am the cursed witch, Morgana, who haunts this mansion. And you are the tragic plaything of fate, the white-haired girl named Gisele. So that is my name. Okay. Okay. This feels like people were telling me that there's like a lot left in this game, but like this feels like this is coming to the end. Like it's the big swerve being like, oh shit, I was playing as the white-haired girl the whole time. And the woman who is like helping me on my journey was the witch. Did my calling you master confuse you? Oh my gosh. If so, then I apologize. You totally did that on purpose. Oh, I just love how it plays with the expectations of the reader to be like, the master is going to be a man. My habit of calling the master, or mistress of the house master, is quite deeply ingrained. You totally did that on purpose. And yes, that means precisely what you think it does. That I have accepted you as my new master. That I wish for you to remain here, to stay with me. So let us put an end to this journey. No, we're not done yet. I wonder if I can like fight back against the witch. Reunite with Michelle again. Journey. Do not worry. There's nothing to fear. As this creepy music plays in the background, we are simply going to step outside the river of time. Nothing unpleasant will ever happen to you again. I will be here with you for all eternity, and I will give you my utmost care. You will not have to wait for anyone. Forget about him, the man you once sought. And I'm sure you shall find happiness. Please do it for me. I have been waiting for you for so very long. I wonder with this witch, why is it that she seems like connected with Gisele? We'll just call her Gisele. I'm assuming that is her name. If she's this, you know, witch who I assume can grant wishes to most people, but she seems very connected with the white-haired girl, Gisele. I have wanted nothing more than to see you again. But you were so continually stolen away from me. Despite my sincerest desires to spend my days with you. Which is why I wanted you to recall everything. Everybody's obsessed with Gisele. All the guys want to be with her, this witch that wants her all to herself. For surely you would not willingly repeat the same fate, if you knew of all the pain it had caused you to suffer this far. Spend eternity with me, in the gentle embrace of darkness. The maid extended her hand for you. Her fingers brushing up against yours were as cold as ever. But her breath tickled your skin pleasantly, and her sweet words rang in your ears, filling you with warmth. You thought back on your time with her in the mansion. She had indeed always treated you with great compassion, and nothing she said seemed to be a lie. And so you pondered. What were you to do? Oh, we're getting a choice here. Accept her proposition, reject her proposition. There's still more to be done. Alright, we're definitely saving, for sure. This just makes me... And it explains why all the other times, all the other doors, the maid was there, except for the first door, because that was before she made the contract with the witch, with Morgana. I'm gonna say there's still more to be done. Something seemed off, not only with the story she had just told, with her, and with you, yourself, assuming everything she had said was the truth. Which or not, my mind is made up. Which will strike you first, I wonder? Regret or the curse? You seem to be doing just fine. It's only a tale. The witch is real, very much so. It is not a legend, nor a fairy tale. The witch is me. That's right. It wasn't the white-haired girl who had claimed to be the witch. And that wasn't all. Or do you mean to reclaim your old self no matter the cost? If you do, if you're sincerely prepared to do that, then be wary of the tale that comes next. Any tragedy that seems too beautiful to be real is precisely that. Oh shit! A fabrication. None of your questions had been answered. You still didn't know who the painting was, or what had taken place so long ago that caused the mansion to summon people to it. You didn't even know who you were, for that matter. I'm guessing there's no mirrors that I can look in. I think I tried to look in mirrors before, but I couldn't. There was no reflection, right? There was still more to be done. You had to find the truth. You needed to find someone. That much was certain. But was the story the maid had told correct about whom? And if it was, what about her? What about the woman whose name you couldn't say? The woman who had so cheerfully called you master? Oh yes, this one. We agreed we would live together, not just in the same house, so we've got plenty of time to add more to the list. And I hope you can make your own list about me too. This is just the beginning after all. We've got a long, long time ahead of us. Plenty enough to get to know each other, no? Now, there's a reason. The maid wanted me to not go in that bedroom. That's why she hid the key in the painting. And that memory was in that room. You must say her name. You must take her hand. You must make her smile once again. You mustn't reclaim your old self. I'm slightly confused right now. It's dark. Dark. Oh, the squishing noise. Dark. It's dark again. It's dark, 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 dark. Constantly. Constantly engulfed in darkness. You threw it away. Every single time I must break out of this darkness. I'll give you a world that's not cruel to you. I must escape and take her hand. Because that's... Ha ha ha. The reason... Oh, I've got a wonderful idea. Okay, so let me read it. So let me just have it here. So it's like, I'm assuming it's two people talking, like maybe her and the witch. So constantly engulfed in darkness. I must break out of this darkness. I must escape and take her hand, because that's the reason I came here. I must return. I must reclaim. You threw it away every single time. I'll give you a world that's not cruel to you. Oh, I've got a wonderful idea. You can curse them with me. We can think of new ways to torture them. We'll all be happier if you stay here. Just think about it. Stay here, in this world. You'll be right at home. I did the best I could for you, nothing more. And then, I'm guessing, Gisele saying, no, this is not where I belong. No matter how much of a world of darkness may suit me, I must reclaim my true self. And then the witch, you'll never be able to do it. I'm assuming, anyway. Oh, reclaim yourself. Well, I mean, that's the only option I got, so let's... I wonder what would have happened if I had just decided to accept the witch's proposition, if that would have just been, like, the end. I wouldn't have tried to seek out any truth, just accept my life with the witch. This is brilliant. Do you have any idea how terrible a decision that is? Do you have any idea why I fabricated that story? It was all for you. So stay here. Stay right where you are. The darkness suits you better. Oh, I hate this background sound effects. It's squelching and squicky. Remember what someone told you not too long ago? That you could handle the stories because they weren't your own? That you were able to bear the tragedies because they happened to others? If that had been your suffering, if the secrets you had kept buried away for so long had come out, you couldn't possibly have endured it. But you're a sharp one. I'm sure you intend to keep those secrets tucked away forever. Do you really think I'm going to let you do that, though? Whatever you try to hide, I'll make sure your beloved hears every last detail. How foolish can you be? Despite all my encouragement, you still insist on getting your old self back? What do you have to gain from that? Nothing but filthy, ugly tragedy awaits you down this path. Reclaim yourself. Don't get your hopes up, my dear. There's nothing for you there. You have nothing. I'm offering you a place by my side. You should have just taken it. There's no salvation for you anywhere. None. At all. Anywhere. From anyone. Ever. Reclaim yourself. She has long since lost all grip on reality. And you think there's anything you can do for her now? Despite having repeatedly failed to even regain yourself? Haha, well, I suppose if you're going to be stubborn, as much as I don't want to, I have to place a curse on your soul. What have I done? Uh-oh. Did I do a bad? Try to seek the truth? Did I just lead myself down a bad path? That's right. The white-haired girl was never at the mansion. What? I'm so confused. Wait, what? Because they talked about how this... Oh, what? Because they were saying about how the story was a fabrication. There is still a story left untold. What? The fourth door was all a lie. What do you mean? It was not some sweet little tragedy. The story you told was pure fantasy. No, that was the truth. That was where it all began. Because of what happened then, you spent innumerable years lost, until you showed up here and... What? You reach out grasping for it. You pull yourself in. Your silhouette, which has been hazy until now, begins to take form. Your mind, your consciousness, your heart, your soul, and your body. Who are you? The veil in your mind dissipates. A crack forms in the shell encasing you. Then another. The invisible shackles chaining your spirit fall to the floor. Reality fades, and atop the indistinct, foggy world around you, bony fingers appear before your eyes. Long hair. Your voice. No, my voice. My body. My fingers. My arms are frail and my joints weak. But despite my resemblance to the white-haired girl, I am not her. Oh shit, this game keeps throwing me for a loop where I'm like, I think I understand what's going on? Where it's just the revelation of like, this is who I am. I finally reclaimed myself. You weren't waiting for the white-haired girl. You were waiting for me. And that's exactly why I came here. What? I have no idea what you're talking about. So who is the white-haired girl in relation to this, if I'm a completely different person? I have always waited for the white-haired. There was never a white-haired girl. Whoa. There was only... this time. This time I must say her name. She is Gisele. There was only you. What? Wait, I am Gisele? What? No, no, I am not Gisele. I am a servant of the house, and I am the witch, the cause. You are not a witch. The witch is someone else. What the fuck is happening right now? Why do you insist that you're the witch? What changed you so much? So she's Gisele. I'm someone completely different. The white hair girl doesn't even exist? What about Michelle? Okay, wait, so that's me? Guys, I thought I understood what was happening for all of like 5 minutes, and now I'm just thrown for a loop. The shadowy figure in the master bedroom, that was her. A glimpse into her past. I'm sure this is Gisele, but why is she so different? What happened to the spark she used to have? Where did the light she once shone upon the world go? I have to remember. I must remember. This cannot end until I have. This is no longer a story. No, what I need to do is face my past. And her heart. She was not even present in the story she made up. Yeah, I noticed that. I was like, where's the maid in this one? Everything about it had been changed. The past I lived and the wounds she bore were more grounded in harsh reality, not wrapped in a film of fairy tale magic. That was the final tale, and it was all true. And that's why there was the whole thing about the curse. Why I'm like, this one seems like the other ones. What we thought was like the thing with the beast. Like there was a reason for that. There was like a realistic reason for that happening. It was just someone's like delusions and believing they're a beast based on what other people said and them going mad. But the other one, like this past thing was like, oh my gosh, this guy, Michelle, he actually has a curse and can kill people. But now we know it's a fabrication. That's how it happened. It was a bittersweet story. No, how can you not see this? Yes, it was a beautiful tragedy, but was there even a scrap of humanity in it? Behind the 3 preceding doors, there had been a constant thread of ugliness and conflicting motivations, but there was hardly a trace of that behind the 4th door. The characters felt like nothing more than characters. Oh shit. Is that what you want to turn into? Is that what you want to turn it into? Is that what you want our history to become? Oh, our history? Our... But I don't remember anything at all. You don't remember anything. No, I don't want to. I don't need a past or a future. All I have left inside me is uncertainty. Gisele. No, no, that is not my name. Please stop trying to confuse me. I'm fine with things the way they are. If it means I don't have to hurt, that's all I want. So please, just let me keep being the maid. Let me keep being a guide. Not some foolish girl. It's like she wants to, alleviate herself of, like, responsibility, of trying to find out the truth. Was there someone, like, who imprinted memories into her head of, like, you're the witch, not Gisele? Or did she take on that role because she doesn't want to remember? Is that what she honestly desires? Does she want to cast aside her past for good? I guess it's the difference between my character who wants to confront their past even if it's ugly, and they might not be happy with the outcome, versus someone who, like Gisele, who would rather just not remember, and they just kind of, what's the word I'm thinking of? Like, if it's a traumatic past or whatever, they'd rather just pretend it didn't happen and just be like, I'm gonna take on this role. I cast aside my old self. I don't want to remember. I don't want to open up the old wounds. If so, then... Oh shit. Okay, okay. Alright, we have another option here. I mean, we've already gone this far, right? Not remembering isn't an option. We gotta rip that band-aid off. No matter what she says, I know I'm right. And if she doesn't reclaim her old self, I'll never get to hear her say my name again. I know I'm being selfish, but I can't do that. If you're afraid of what you might find, we can remember together. I haven't gotten everything back yet myself, so let's open the real door together. There are no other doors to open, but there is. One that can only open by our hands, because it exists between the two of us. Not a door with a physical form, but the door to your heart. The door to... I grasp her unnaturally cold hand. A hand that long ago once had warmth. If she can't lead the way, then I have to. I must pick up the pieces of our erased history so we can both reclaim ourselves. Find the actual truth. No matter what we may uncover, I will not let go of this hand. No, I mustn't let go of it. The way they're talking, it's like they had... I don't want to jump to conclusions, but did they have like some sort of romantic relationship? The two of them? And were made to forget it? Darkness falls over the world around us. The floor upon which we had been standing flickers out of existence, sending us dropping into an endless abyss. This dark pit, this is her door, her history, her heart. Let's try this one more time. It's not a sweet story by any means, because the other ones were so lovely. So this is going to be very tragic if they're saying that this one is not going to be nice. It's a story of betrayal, anger, hatred. We caused each other pain, but that's the road we traveled. And down that road lies all the answers. Well, I'm excited to find out these answers. Alright, the fourth door. The real fourth door. Ooh. Oh, the fifth door. Okay. 1099, same. So it's basically just what actually happened back then. I believe this was the same timeline. It had been several days since I left the capital, and I could still see it when I closed my eyes. The people lined up on the Grand Pont, awaiting entry, eager to start a new life there, brimming with hope. It was a city people were willing to pay high taxes to live. Wait, this is happening in 1099? Isn't that like the Middle Ages? I'm not saying that there weren't cities back then, but... if you were a performer, you could get some of these costs shaved down a bit by putting those skills to use. The capital was harsh on those who wanted in, and apathetic about all who left. It was composed of a powerful nobility and clergy, wealthy merchants and bankers, and a large population of poor. And it was the city I had called home for a long time. I didn't know much about where I was heading. Alright, there's Gisele. It's getting foggy. It looks like it might rain. Maybe we should take a little break. You want to keep going? Oh, alright then. The coachman was frustratingly taciturn. He acted as though he'd gotten stuck transporting a prisoner, though that was hardly a stretch. From his point of view, I was nothing more than a criminal. Even the times he would acknowledge I had said anything, he made no effort to hide the scorn in his eyes, to pretend he didn't regret ever taking this job, and I would just fall silent again. The road was gradually getting narrower. We had long since left the paved city roads behind, and were now traveling along a couple of worn-down grooves in the forest. How did I end up here? Why was I being subjected to this? I was done thinking about it. The more I thought on it, the less fair it seemed. The more I remembered, the worse it hurt. All I could do anymore was close my eyes and weather the storm. Deep within the dense woods, a mansion appeared before us, like the world fading into view after a dream. It didn't seem to be an especially large house, but it had obviously been constructed with a great deal of care, and it was, thankfully, not standing in ruins. This deep in the forest? The carriage came to a stop, and the coachman climbed down, signaling with his chin for me to get out. Thank you very much. You must be tired after such a long journey. This is the mansion I am looking for, yes? But the driver didn't even acknowledge me, getting back onto the carriage and setting off into the forest. He seemed to want to get as far away from here as quickly as possible. He could have said something. Oh well. That was about all I could say anyway. Oh well. I couldn't blame anyone for my being here, or for his wanting to get out. I should get going, I guess. Getting a better look at it, the house's windows were, strangely enough, all shuttered. It was probably dark as pitch out inside. Does no one live here? But if that's the case, then why was I... I placed my hand on the front door. Such a big door. What if I couldn't get in? I had no idea what else there was in the area. If the door didn't open, then I would die out here in the forest. I've come to accept much, but I was not ready to forfeit my life yet. Please open. It's not locked, I guess. I feel, maybe I'm just thinking too much into this, but it feels like this is kind of a repetition. Like, the way, the thing she's saying sounds familiar. I don't know if it's a repetition of a previous door. Maybe even the door that I just finished. Although, the way that it's going is a lot different with the white-haired girl before being chased by people. The door was heavy, and though it seemed to protest my attempts to enter, it still opened much easier than I was expecting. Like, this feels like deja vu, the words here. I was worried over nothing. Looking in, I got the strangest impression that light was being swallowed up into the mansion's depths. Rather than going inside, it felt as though I was about to step outside the boundaries of this world. I wonder if she's gonna meet Michelle in here again, or is this completely different? When I closed the door, it was so dark I couldn't even tell where I was walking. I wonder if the window's open. I managed to fumble my way over to a window. It was tightly shuttered, and the shutters caked with rust. I was probably not getting it open without a fight. Darn, not a hint of light. I couldn't even see my hand waving in front of my face. It felt as though the floor would fall out from under me, and I would sink into eternal darkness if I didn't watch my step. Fighting back that fear, I slowly walked forward, tracing the wall with my hand. There was a door at the end of a long corridor. I pulled it open, and a wisp of bone-chilling air brushed past me. It was too dark to see anything, but I could feel something different present in this area than the rest of the house. Uneasiness gripped me. Hello? Is anyone there? Please don't tell me it's actually abandoned. I suppose I can't know without looking around a bit more. My voice simply disappeared into the void. No response. As I pushed forward through the freezing air, for a split second I spotted a shimmer of light. Squinting my eyes, I was able to make out a large window. Unlike the others, it wasn't shuttered. What do we have here? Drapes? I see little light beyond. My chances were slim, I imagined. But if there was even a slight possibility of getting some light in here, it was worth a shot. So I pulled open the drapes. So this seems to be going the same way as the fourth door. The next moment, faint but colorful lights shone down on me. It was a stained glass window. From beyond the glass, I could hear the subtle pitter-patter of rain. It had finally started, it seemed. The different colors of light blended into a milky white, dim but wondrous. It's so pretty. It looks like an angel? Why would someone cover this up? It's beautiful. With a little more light, it would be... Oh my gosh, this is gotta be Michelle, right? Like, this is happening exactly the same way. Please do not touch the drapes. Or the windows. Suddenly, I heard a voice, and I could sense someone else in the room. The man's voice was emotionless, neither deep nor high. Before long, he came into view, illuminated by dull orange candlelight. Yep, there he is. I'm sorry for coming in uninvited, but I did announce myself. The man stood there, practically blending in with the darkness. I do hope that this deviates quite a bit, otherwise it would be kind of boring to just basically repeat the exact same. I'm sure it will, because this is the true story, but still. Had he been there the whole time? He was staring straight at me. His gaze wavered slightly, but not enough for me to read anything into it. Then again, I could hardly make out any detail at all under the light of a single candle. Is this your mansion? It is. Thank goodness. I was afraid it was deserted. I suspect you would have preferred if the house were abandoned. Is he still going to go on about how he has a curse? Oh, not at all. I would be scared to death staying in this dark mansion all by myself. Ah, I'm sorry. No ill will intended. But I do think it could do with some light. That way, you could see where you were walking. And I'm sure this room would look splendid illuminated. Not necessary. I make do perfectly well as things are. How can you see when it's so dark? I have an abundance of candles and oil for lamps. I am not in want of means of creating light. It is not your place to criticize my lifestyle. If you need light, you are free to leave. If you are in need of money, help to yourself to some of the furniture. There's a village not too far from here. Trade it for food, then make your way to a larger town. I am no longer able to freely return to the city. I cannot go back there. Please don't chase me out. And I'm assuming the real reason is not because she's a witch or seen as a witch. I see. And do you ask this of me aware of how people refer to this mansion? They say that a witch lives here. Not merely a witch. A cursed witch. If you remain here, you too shall likely suffer your own destruction. You're worried for my well-being? Witch or not, my mind is made up. I was sent to this cursed witch's mansion to atone for my transgressions back in the city. Okay, so it's different this time. It didn't matter what lived here. I had no choice. Which will strike you first, I wonder? Regret or the curse? You seem to be doing just fine. It's only a tale. The witch is real, very much so. It is not a legend, nor a fairy tale. The witch's name was Morgana. Is me. And then that thing is, why does Michelle say he is the witch, right? If we know the true witch's name. Yes, that was our first encounter. It was nothing flowery or dramatic. It was rather laced with suspicion and wariness. We knew nothing about one another, and I had no interest in changing that. But nonetheless, that was where it all began, where my history with her commenced. The woman had jade eyes. Okay, so this is the maid, right? This is the real Gisele. And now, I see it now, I'm like, okay, it's pretty much her, just with short hair. Open wide, they glimmered like jewels in the light shining through the stained glass window. When it says, my life with her began, am I speaking as Michelle now? Because, now I'm confused, because at first I'm like, wait, am I the white-haired girl? Because that's what the maid said, that's what Gisele said, but then I also was like, the whole past story was all fiction, so I'm just like, what in the world is going on? I'm so confused. She seemed to be at a loss for words. I wasn't lying, per se. The rumor said a witch lived in this house, and I was the only one who filled that criteria. Okay, so am I Michelle? Is that who the master is? That's who I am. So who's the white-haired girl? Thus, said rumors could be interpreted to be talking about me. After staring at me dumbfounded for a few moments, the woman suddenly burst into laughter. Oh wow, here I was thinking you were kind of scary, and it turns out you're actually quite funny. What? I never would have guessed you were someone to tell such a ridiculous joke with a straight face. I wasn't. You don't look at all like a witch. I mean, it's dark and I can't really see, but you seem to me like a rather handsome man. The word witch has broader meaning than just a woman who practices magic. Any unholy person with cursed powers, man or woman, can be considered a witch. I think I get what you're trying to say, but my mental image of a witch is definitely more a woman. So you're not a witch. To tell you the truth, I didn't know who might be here, which had me rather scared. But I think I can make this work. So, why is she here? Unlike the last story, where the white-haired girl was, she was chased here, essentially. This time, this woman, Gisele, she was brought here by carriage. It's a pleasure to meet you, Master. Okay, so this is where the Master thing began. Master? I was sent here from your old home. Really? Oh, I was an Abigail for your mother, but, well, I might have made a little goof. This doesn't seem like talk of the Middle Ages to be like, I did a goof. I did a oopsie. I froze the moment the word left her mouth. So she was a maid from Michelle's home. Okay. Home. It rattled around in my skull, shaking up terrible memories that almost brought me to my knees. Why, after all these years, were they reaching out to me now? And not even sending someone to bring me back, just sending someone. To what end? For what purpose had they shipped an Abigail out to this remote mansion? What was my mother thinking? Was this another one of her attempts to break my curse? What do you mean you made a little goof? My voice came out weak. I did my best not to let it show on my face. It was a teeny tiny mistake. Nothing you need to concern yourself with. She speaks so differently from the maid that we know of. It's like... It's almost like the maid was asked to put on, like, an act. But this is the real her. So something obviously happened that the maid would rather like to forget. I'm guessing something pretty traumatizing might have happened to her. But, like, here she seems so... I don't know, she has so much life to her. What did Mother say about me? Well, it was actually your father who told me to come here. I never really spoke to your mother much. Father sent you? That made even less sense. Why would he have... Did Father even know I was here? No, if he had known, I would have been... Who was this woman? And what was her goal in asking to stay here? So it was actually Gisele who may have fallen in love? Maybe they didn't fall in love at all, but if they... Like, she and Michelle are the ones who fell in love. But then she told the story from the perspective of a white-haired girl, and she, like they said, they made it flowery, so obviously, however this ended, it did not end as well as her story, and her story didn't even end well. It was still tragic. Well, there you have it. I'll be here for a while. If you need me for anything, do not hesitate to ask. I'm confident I can handle most everyday tasks. Now, where should I begin? Oh, I know. Are you hungry, Master? Food. I can't imagine you eat much, being as skinny as you are. I turned my back on her without responding. No matter what her goal was, she had been sent from that house. There was no way anything good could come of that, and there was no way I could live with someone who had ties to them. I prayed she would take the hint, give up, and leave. Master. And so I kept ignoring her. Master, Master. And that's why there was... Oh shit, that's why it was locked up. That was Gisele. Because she was the one who hid the key, right? She hid the key in the painting of the master bedroom. Because that's where her memory from the mansion is. Because she was in the bedroom, the master bedroom, saying like, everybody says you're so scary, Master, but I don't think so. Like, I'm guessing they did fall in love, or at least they had some sort of relationship, and maybe she wasn't necessarily keeping that from my character, but she was locking up her own memories because she didn't want to remember them. I ignored. Master. I ignored her. Master, what would you like for supper? Nothing, but failed, spinning back and shouting. Her eyes went wide, and then she gave a sheepish giggle. I glared at her as she fidgeted uncomfortably. Eating is one of the most basic human needs, so if you're hungry, you should really eat. I said I didn't want. What was that sound? Must you ask? That's not a very polite thing to ask a lady, you know. She's like, I'm the one who's hungry. I just want to ask you if you wanted food, so it wouldn't be rude if I ate. Huh? You know, it was a long trip, and all I had to eat on the road was dried fruit. I felt like I was some kind of animal. So she was sent away from the house for some reason. So what I'm trying to say, because she made a mistake, apparently. So what I'm trying to say is that I'm hungry. That wasn't the sound of her stomach growling, was it? I thought lightning had struck in the distance. And would like some supper. The kitchen is at the far end of the hall on the first floor. There's food in the cellar. Help yourself to any of it. Thank you so much. I honestly feel like I haven't eaten in days and I'm about to die of starvation. Oh, and I shouldn't need any help finding it. I plan on exploring the house anyway. It's rather exciting, being in a new place. She's taken it all in stride. Whatever happened, she seems very positive about it. Erg. Damn it, that did not go as planned. Oh well, she can do as she pleases. I'll have nothing to do with it. Oh, Master, are you sure you don't... No. Master. Master. What is it now? My name is Gisele. It's a pleasure to meet you. And your name, Oh, Master, you. I actually left the room that time, making my way back to my chambers. At some point, I would seriously have to chase her out, especially considering she'd come from that house. So that's the real reason he wanted nothing to do with her. It wasn't because of a witch's curse. It was because of the connection to his family. But regardless, I was not terribly fond of her. So Gisele made it out to be like a tragic love story. Maybe that never happened. Maybe they never fell in love. Maybe she had unrequited feelings for him and he never returned them. I didn't really understand Michelle, but that was probably because we were still essentially strangers. Having been sent to the mansion as reparation for my mistakes, I wasn't sure who I might find there, but I was tentatively convinced he wasn't a terrible person. He didn't do anything to me, except stay away. Maybe it's like with the white-haired girl, Michelle, in their story, where it's like they'll connect over the fact they were both cast away from the house, you know? In the meantime, let me just check the backlog. I don't know if it's still worth checking. I don't know if it was literally just the fourth door where that backlog stuff happens, but you guys can let me know if that's the case, if I still should check this out, or if it's not really worth doing anymore. Which he had told me to never enter under any circumstances, so we rarely encountered one another in the halls. For that reason, I made an effort to be kind and cheerful on the sporadic occasions we did cross paths. I figured if I kept that up long enough, he would eventually warm up to me. Probably the opposite, he probably just got more and more annoyed with her. And as new housemates, being able to enjoy our time together was obviously preferable to the alternative. If I did manage to break the ice, I hope we would be able to do some talking. About the mansion, about him, about me. I just had to keep working at it. Michel didn't need me to take care of him. He handled his own day-to-day needs and activities by himself, and in fact, he didn't ask me for anything. An aristocrat who had no use for his servant. I hadn't met anyone like him before. Alright then. That meant about all I could do was clean. I wasn't sure how his room looked, but the rest of the house was, quite frankly, an absolute disaster. The dust was so heavy, it was obvious it hadn't been touched in years. Let's get started. It couldn't be healthy to live in these conditions, so I set out to clean each room in the house one by one. That said, it wasn't going to be an easy task. Not because I was bad at cleaning. In fact, I considered myself quite good at it. But because it was near impossible to find all the dust and grime that needed cleaning under the flickering light of a candle. I can't understand how anyone sane can live in this dark. What's wrong with him? Maybe he's actually a vampire? Oh my gosh, Gisele. Girl, yeah, same. Someone else understands where I'm coming from. Oh god, wouldn't that be something? What if that was true? I can see it now, him sneaking out every night to suck the blood of pretty girls. Priceless. That means I'm in trouble. She's so different from the maid that, like, we know her as, like, she was so mysterious and she didn't really speak this, I don't know, like, she has just so much more energy to her. Look at me, this one-woman comedy show here. Yep. If I am able to get him to warm up to me, though, maybe that will give me a little more room to make some changes. Like opening some windows. No light, no fresh air, no thank you. Anyway, I set the candlestick down, pulled over a chair to stand on, and started wiping down the shelf. The chair's legs seemed to be uneven, as it wobbled slightly beneath me. So many books. I wonder, do they all belong to him? I knew parchment was expensive, but it was rather astonishing seeing this many stacks of it in one place. There were even some books with bulky, extravagantly decorated covers. He does come from an esteemed family. I'd spent enough time at his family's home. It was a constant bustle of servants and guests. The exact opposite of what this mansion was like. Why had he left his home? What had he done to be sent all the way out here, to this remote mansion with a less than savory reputation? I need to be careful not to overstep my bounds. I am a servant now. A servant. But once the thought had crossed my mind, I couldn't get it out. I'd always had a bad tendency to chase my curiosities as soon as they struck, pushing to scratch the itch no matter how much my actions annoyed others. I couldn't do that here, though. I was simply a servant, and if I got on Michelle's bad side, I risked getting thrown out. I wonder what kind of books he's got in here. So I attempted to distract myself. I grabbed one of the books and attempted to pull it out. What? But the strings binding the parchment must have gotten tangled at the back. Whoa, whoa! Because the books on either side tilted back with it. Ah! And then the entire row came crashing down on top of me. Ow. Oh, for cripe's sake. She kind of speaks like Maria, doesn't she? I'd fallen off the chair, and a downpour of books was still coming down on me. A mountain of dust with it. Seriously? What are you doing? What? Suddenly, Michelle was there, looking down at me from a little ways away. There was, as usual, not much I could read from his expression, but I could hear a vague trace of exasperation in his voice. I was doing some cleaning and impressive work. I'm usually better than this. It's just so dark, mistakes should be expected. I really think we should open some windows, Master. Get some light, some air flowing through here. I never asked you to clean anything. You did this entirely yourself. But there's so much dust. Like, she's so casual. She just sounds like a little child. It can't be good for you. I am perfectly healthy. I don't see the problem. Had he even seen himself? No way someone that skinny was perfectly healthy. You look like you have something to say. He can make out my face in this darkness? You know, I wanted to be useful, and cleaning is about all I can do here, so, you know. I was sensing something else, but alright. He let out a sigh, stepped over toward the pile of books, and then reached his hand down for me. Okay, so he doesn't have that curse. I was thinking, I'm like, in this world, the curse seems unlikely. Like, it seems sus when all the other... everything else that seems magical in this world had, like, an explanation for it. Oh, I suddenly felt a pang of embarrassment about the fact I was still splayed out on the floor, but I raised my hand up to take his, only for him to pick up a book and said, never mind. You could at least help me up. You have legs, damn. He said, casually returning the book to the top shelf. Yeah, this is very different from... Whereas before he didn't want to touch her because of the curse, and here he's just like, he just doesn't like her very much. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe he was a terrible person. So, Master, are all these books yours? Gisele asked, not a trace of remorse visible on her face, despite having made a mess of the room she was supposedly trying to clean. I gave a curt nod. Really? That's impressive. It must have been hard work getting them all in here, huh? There's got to be 100 books here. You could fill a whole carriage at least. It's like you've got your own personal library. She had been... You know, I just realized when I'm like, well, all of the magic stuff has an explanation. So, like, maybe there are no curses or things, but, I mean, the fact that the maid, Gisele, has been in the mansion for seemingly centuries, that alone is just like, okay, so maybe there is some supernatural stuff going on here. Maybe there was like a curse, right? The curse where it's like, she never ages, and she has to suffer and stay in the mansion forever. Like, she asked the witch for, to grant her a wish, and that was the stipulation. She'd been pouting only a few moments earlier, but her smile was back in short order. Her jade eyes were like little balls of curiosity, glittering in the faint candlelight. I was not particularly fond of overly expressive, rather, overly curious women. Did they not care that they trampled uninvited into other people's personal spaces? Or were they not even aware that their actions were invasive? I averted my gaze from hers. I receive one roughly every month. Oh, I see. Wait. She turned back towards the shelves. I presume she understood the implications of what I had just said. The fact there were nearly 100 tomes here, and I received only one a month. Huh. Gisele fell silent. I couldn't blame her if she thought my circumstances, or my family, or my life bizarre. But I didn't care what she thought of me. In fact, it was to my advantage for her to be uncomfortable. I just needed her to stay quiet and keep her nose out of my business. There's more than I thought. I said not to her, but to myself. I had no reason to count the passage of time anymore. Only the book served as a record of how long I had been here. 121. What? There are 121 books. 10 years in 1 month. You were counting? I thought she'd just sheepishly gone quiet. What an inscrutable woman. You've been here in the mansion for that long? All by yourself? The truth was, there had been times when I wasn't alone. But Gisele had no need to know that. Okay, interesting. You already know the answer. A look of pity formed in Gisele's eyes. Enough. I never asked for her sympathy. I'm here by choice. Is he really, though? I know in the story, the previous one, he was cast away because of the curse, but did he come here of his own accord, or is he just saying that? You mean you weren't banished here? No restraint, this woman. I'm assuming, yep, she was banished, so she has to assume he was too. No, I came here of my own volition. I didn't care enough to elaborate, though. Picking another book off the floor, I brushed the dust off its cover. It was a gaudy decorated tome. That's a very fancy book, isn't it? But apparently Gisele was unable to take a hint. What's it about? I let out a sigh and opened to no page in particular, sticking the book out toward her. She was a servant, and a woman. There was no way she could read. Let's see here. This land is hardly suitable for cultivation. It can only produce oversour grapes. I would probably get more of it if I tore down the fields and made it into a market. Sounds like a lord's diary. You can read? I was caught slightly off guard. It was rare for a noblewoman to be able to read and write, let alone a servant. Was she truly what she claimed to be? Alright, so now, just as we're starting to get some answers, more questions arise. Who are you actually, Gisele? Were you actually a servant, or is that a cover story? I had someone teach me. So, is this book any interesting? It's dull, worthless tripe. I can't imagine why anyone thought it was worth binding. Tough crowd. But it's not very often you get to see a lord's diary. I am rather curious what kinds of things he griped about. Lord or king, what value was there in another's grumbling? There was no knowledge contained within that book. Just emotions, unsightly scribbles. And there was nothing more exhausting in this world than being emotional. If you want to read it, be my guest. That wasn't my intention, but alright. Once I've got the whole mansion cleaned, I'll read it. I told you, you don't have to clean. Hee hee. Oh, I've got an idea, Master. If you're interested, maybe we could read together. Did you hear a word I just said? It's dull, worthless tripe. Still, you might see it differently if you read it with someone else. And I'm sure there are some books here you would enjoy, Master. You're wasting your time. The suspicion and restraint budding between us was trite and insignificant at that point. She was still smiling, after all. If I had been able to maintain that distance, then perhaps I wouldn't have ended up hurting her. Okay, so something obviously happened between them, as I expected. It had been a little under 2 weeks since I had moved in with Michel. Though we lived in the same house, we rarely saw each other. On unlucky days, I wouldn't see him at all. I wasn't sure if he ate in his room, or our schedules were simply misaligned. But we never had any meals together. That's what it's like when you have a roommate you don't like. You try and line it up so that you just try and see each other as little as possible. Perhaps he was deliberately avoiding me. That has to be it. I know servant and master don't usually eat at the same table, but even so, he could be a little less obvious about it. Am I really that much of a nuisance? I'm not doing anything inappropriate, am I? I'm being pleasant and sociable, aren't I? I haven't given him any reason to not like me, I think. Sometimes it's when people try and make themselves more, like, they really push on you to be like me. It just does the opposite. Especially if someone is naturally, like, solitary and antisocial. I hope. He had never been very enthusiastic about my staying here. But I hadn't been given a choice. I had been sent here by his family. Besides... No, out with the negative thoughts. Gotta stay positive. Yeah, he hasn't tried to chase me out yet. I just haven't broken the ice. I had to stay positive, optimistic, Happy thoughts. And be myself. As long as I kept working at it. With enough time, Michelle would surely come around and not be so distant. I've got a goal, so let's get to work. First, I make supper. Then, I ask him to have it with me. Gotta be proactive when it comes to the reclusive types. Alright, here goes. I know this takes place back in, olden times. It almost feels like she's a time traveler who got sent back in these times, but she still speaks with, a more modern dialect. Or here would go, but we're almost out of supplies. Well, so much for that. The cellar was where the non-perishable food was stored. Dried foods, smoked meats, cheeses, and a small scattering of root vegetables. Looking at this makes me feel like a soldier holding down a castle's fortifications. Had Michelle really gone 10 years on nothing but this? I would have raised the white flag long ago. He said he hadn't left the mansion at all in those 10 years. I assume he at least goes out to get supplies, right? Running out of food is kind of a life or death matter. I can't believe he hasn't set foot outside even once, and... What are you babbling on about? Wah! Oh no, he overheard me. I assumed you were talking to someone. Huh? Does anyone else live here, Master? I haven't seen anyone. It is just the two of us. Alive, anyway. You mean there are ghosts? Something of the sort. Ah, there you go again with the jokes. I'm not a child. You're not going to trick me like that. There are adults who believe in such things. I suppose, but I don't really believe in ghosts or demons or curses or any of that. The church just tries to convince people they're real so they can squeeze more money out of them. She is a very modern lady, I gotta say. She can read. She sees through bullshit. Interesting character for sure. Am I going to have to turn you over to the church, you blasphemer? No. I pray every day, honest. I don't particularly care either way. I'm returning to my chambers. What? Already? You didn't, come down here for food? I only came down because I heard voices. A moment, please. Just wait a second. What? Our stores are almost empty. What do you normally do when you need more food? I'll happily accompany you on a trip to the market. Already? That was fast. She's like, you eat a lot. There are two of us. I really don't eat that much, do I? In the dim light, it was difficult to make out Michelle's expression, but I thought I could see a tinge of annoyance on his face. Ugh, hold your ground, Gisele. You said you wanted to get closer to him. Ah, is that a parsnip? Michelle was holding a tangled ball of roots. The reason I asked was because the parsnip looked like it was on the verge of total decomposition. See, there's still food. He then handed it to me. What? Wait, you want me to eat that? It's clearly seen better days. You're going to get sick. Or are you telling me you can survive on rotten vegetables? Of course I won't eat it. I just figured you were hardy enough to survive. Damn, he's kind of an ass in this one. She really did paint a more flowery picture of him in the previous story. What do you think I am? No, he is definitely a jerk, but there's more to it than that. I'm sure he'll soften. Or that the resulting diarrhea might reduce your appetite. You're kidding, right? You can't be serious. Anyway, we should bury that outside. Then we can go purchase fresh supplies. I told you, I don't go outside. Then how do you... Huh? A visitor? Who could it be? Perfect timing. I like in this story the idea of he's not hiding in the mansion because he has a curse. It's just because he's dreadfully, antisocial and basically a hermit. And he just likes his solitude. You're a servant. Make yourself useful and go retrieve the package. If it's not a delivery but a wanderer, chase them off. What? Package? Master? Hold on a second. What are you talking about? He's gone. What kind of delivery is he expecting? Michelle stood there, unmoving, veiled in shadow. He glanced over at me, then threw his gaze to the front door. At his command, I raised the bar, pulling open the door. After nearly 2 weeks inside, the light from the setting sun almost blinded me. The world went white, my head pounding. After a few moments of intense blinking, my eyes acclimated themselves to the evening sunlight. There was no one outside, only a crate easily large enough to fit a child. Is this the package? Master? I turned back to face Michel, but he wouldn't meet my eyes, though it seemed more like he was avoiding looking at the light than at me. He started to seem more and more like a vampire. Not that I believe in vampires, of course. Regardless, I pray there's nothing bad in here. That's heavy. Master, could I get some help? Gee, thanks. I am a servant, admittedly, but this is a lot to ask of just one girl. A little help would sure be nice. Once it's inside, close and bar the door, he said dispassionately, his head still turned toward the darkness. As you wish, Master. Once the door was shut, I found myself sucked back into a world of darkness. It hadn't even been 2 weeks, but the lack of light was beginning to become my normal. The outside world growing farther and farther away. Being holed up in here is definitely not good for me. I should go for a walk sometime. Maybe plant some flowers or vegetables. I like that idea. Maybe I can grow that old tangle of roots into some fresh parsnip. What else do we have to plant? It would be great if there were some flower seeds. What are you doing? Open the box, now. As you wish, Master. Oh, there's food inside. In the box was a burlap sack filled with berries, root vegetables, smoked meats, as well as an assortment of bread, fruits, and wine. Aside from the fruit and bread, everything else was the same as what Michel kept in the cellar. Oh, and buried beneath the burlap sack was a single book. 1 book a month. He really hasn't gone outside in 10 years. It appears you've begun to grasp the situation. Yeah, but why? This was delivered by someone from your house, Master, wasn't it? A servant, I assume. Why would they leave without saying anything? No one wants to talk to a cursed man. Okay, so he is talking about the curse, so I guess he did say at the beginning he did have a curse. Maybe he just says that to scare people away? In the past, they would occasionally check in on me, but that hasn't happened recently. They think you're cursed? Ah, right. You don't believe in curses. Then come up with your own explanation. An excuse for them to want to stay away from me. Maybe it's just because you're kind of icy and unpleasant. That, for example, I killed someone. Or maybe that I'm insane. Ooh, that's a face. I couldn't. Regardless, I am not normal. Is it just because of the white hair, the red eyes? Maybe it's the same thing, that they think he's cursed because of how he looks? Just like with the white hair girl? Bring the food down to the cellar, the book to the library. You are, of course, free to refuse and run back off into the woods. I'll do it. All right. Then you take care of that. Hey. What is it? I just noticed there's something else in here. It's wrapped in cloth. What could it be? Oh, a painting. For you to hang up somewhere in the house, I presume. Oh, something's going on here. It's so dark, I can't see it very well, but I'm sure it's like the painting with Mel's, right? I had the white girl in it. Don't touch that. Ooh, what? Michel, who had kept his distance from me up until that point, suddenly marched over and ripped the painting from my grasp. Master? His face was twisted into a look I'd never seen him make before. Was it indignation? Disgust? Hatred? Panic? I couldn't tell, but there was more than enough negative pressure to cause me to flinch back. Is that painting perhaps something important? A landscape painting. Those are the paintings that are hanging up in the mansion, he muttered under his breath, the tension melting away from his face. So he was afraid that the painting would be something else. I was left looking at his unusually blank, impenetrable expression. But his eyes were still fixated on the picture, staring at it unblinkingly. Why a landscape painting? Some kind of passive-aggressive message? It's not of anywhere nearby. Did they travel somewhere? Oh, he's like the forgotten child. Well, it's not of that girl, so that's an improvement. Ooh, the girl. Perhaps the white-haired girl, maybe. Maybe, oh, is the white-haired girl maybe like his sister or something? Because they have the same look. Maybe Gisele heard of the white-haired girl from Michelle, so she put the white-haired girl into the stories. But no, if she was his sister, that would be weird. But we already saw that with Mel, didn't we? Maybe her stories have like some flashes of stuff that she's heard from Michelle, like the painting and the sibling thing. Maybe? Master. Oh, you're still here? Still here? Of course I'm still here. Who do you think you asked to take care of the package? What's with you? Just running over and snatching the painting from me. You scared me. Could you maybe explain yourself? What is so special about that painting? I don't believe that's any of your business. None of my... Well, I mean, he's not wrong. She is kind of stepping in. She is kind of being like... stepping in his boundaries, I guess, is the word I'm thinking of. She really doesn't understand boundaries. I don't imagine, like, how is she a good servant if she's just too nosy? Of course it is. You ripped it out of my hands like I was some kind of thief. I have a right to know what that was all about. And maybe an apology while you're at it. She's very different from the white-hair girl. The white-hair girl is so timid and, like, had really good manners. Gisele just says what she thinks. She doesn't give a shit. You told me to open the box, so I did. Then, all of a sudden, you're angry. We are not equals. Do not mistake yourself for my friend. You have a right to know. You have no such thing. You don't have to be rude. I'll say it again. Leave if you don't like it here. I never asked for you to be here. That was your wish. My wish? No, I'm pretty sure she didn't want this. Are you out of your mind? I never asked for this. I never wished for it. Who in their right mind would want to be sent to some house in the middle of nowhere? Who would ever want to go through that? Unless, Michelle does. If what he says is true, is like he did this of his own accord. Is that the whole thing about wishes? Was this like... Because there was the whole thing about the witch granting wishes. Was this like secretly... Was this before or after she apparently made this wish with Morgana the witch? Which I'm assuming if we had that moment where the white-haired girl's portrait turned into Gisele's. Is she, like... She's been the white-haired girl this whole time? I'm so confused. Sorry, guys. I'm babbling a lot. It's just I'm trying to really, like, figure out what's going on here. No, calm down, Gisele. You can't get angry. You're right. That is what I wanted. But I never wanted to make you mad, or for us to argue like this. I just wanted to get to know you better, to get closer to you. It would make things smoother for the both of us. It would make living together more enjoyable for us. Listen carefully. This is very important for you to understand. Do not try to involve yourself with me. Do not go probing around for information. And if you can't do that, leave. I completely shut out. The glare he was giving me and the standoffish aura he was emanating were reflected in his tone of voice. Why did he try to push me away like that? It seemed Gisele really didn't know much about me. Despite being sent here from my house, she was unaware of the monthly deliveries, as well as the reason why I lived in the mansion all by myself. Why, though, would they not have told her anything? Why had she been sent here, left completely in the dark? Gisele looked up at me, fear and bewilderment in her eyes, though I thought I could sense a glint of suspicion beneath it all. Like her true feelings were bubbling to the surface. Everyone had darkness in them they keep hidden. No one was exactly who they appeared to be. She was undoubtedly thinking, I'm not here because I want to be. I knew from the moment I saw her that her bubbly, sweet effect was all a facade. And she thought I was dense enough to not realize. She was no different than anyone else. What I didn't understand, though, was why she refused to leave no matter how hard I pushed. What was she hiding beneath that innocent-looking face? What was she thinking? What did she carry on her shoulders? Everyone is hiding something, deceiving those around them. I had to figure out who she or what she really was. May I ask you something? Yes? On the day you arrived, You said you made a teeny tiny mistake while working at my family's house. Tell me about that. What did you do at the Bollinger estate? In that moment, brief though it was, her disposition wavered. Fear? Terror? No, perhaps anger? I couldn't tell. Nevertheless, it was abundantly clear that this was a subject she had no interest in me breaching. And so she had borne her fangs. The smile she donned was now visibly forced. It's nothing you need concern yourself with, Master. I promise. It was an insignificant little thing. He's probably like, yeah, how does it feel? How does it feel to have somebody probing you and, like, stepping on your boundaries? She couldn't say. Why couldn't she tell me? What had she done there? What did this woman know about that house? What did she know about me? What was concealed beneath that smile of hers? I am the master of this house, and you are a servant, and still you refuse to tell me. Like I said, it's nothing. There's no reason to bother you with a mere servant's personal blunders, Master. What are you hiding? I am not hiding anything. Then you should be able to tell me exactly what you did at the Bollinger estate. Like I said, tell me. Tell me. You won't tell me a thing about yourself, and yet you demand others tell you about themselves. Here you are, practically threatening me, demanding I tell you something I don't want to talk about, and yet you still haven't told me anything about the painting. Ho ho, so I was right. You do have something to hide. How many times must I repeat myself? We are not equals. I don't care if it's insignificant, or something you don't want to talk about. What? I'm ordering you to tell me. A trifling blunder would not get someone sent to live with a cursed man in a house spoken of so unfavorably. Whatever she had done at the Bollinger estate, that had something to do with why she was here. If she truly hadn't done anything, she had something to gain from this place, or possibly from me. And if it was the case, I had to get her to talk. Don't make me. Giselle's eyes were open wide. I recognized the look she was giving me. I knew very well what that gaze meant. You are an abomination. Oh shit, it was the same as them. Fear, contempt, revulsion, repulsion. So they're saying, people were saying that he's an abomination, probably because of his looks, so he didn't actually come here of his own decision. He probably got sent away because of how he looks, you know? His family is just, especially if they're like an esteemed estate, they're probably like, oh, he looks weird, we're gonna send him away. I'm just taking a look once again, because it's been a while. I got so into the story that I haven't checked the log in a while. Alright, doesn't seem like anything. The way she acted, the way she spoke, it was exactly the same. You're no different. I made her uncomfortable. I made her afraid. She thought I was unpleasant. She thought I was despicable. She thought I was an abomination. In a frenzy, I grabbed her by the shoulders, clamping down far more powerfully than I had meant to. No, ow, stop! Her face, contorted in pain, morphed into someone else's. Who was I directing my anger at? Where was this rage being aimed? Who are you calling an abomination? What? Tell me, who? The black fur bubbling up from within me knew out no end. The girl, she ridiculed me. She denied my identity with her glare. I couldn't escape from that phantom, that reality. What are... I never called you. No, get away from me. Get your hands off me. Giselle's scream echoed in the entrance hall, rattling my eardrums. She frantically smacked my arms aside, and then I came back to my senses. She was standing a little ways away, breathing heavily, arms wrapped tightly around her body, glowering at me, showing her opposition to my touching her. Ah, enlightening. No. You startled me, that's all. Some servant you are, telling your master not to touch you. Oh, right, I have, you know... Ooh, did something happen? Did something happen at the mansion? Ooh. Did she maybe have somebody with power maybe taking advantage of her? And maybe she kind of like snapped back to that moment where And that's why, I mean, I would obviously, if someone, like, way more powerful than me was grabbing onto me, I would probably have a similar reaction, but it almost seemed like she went into, like, a weird moment there, just like he did. He went to a weird state. I'm allergic to people. It's a very unique condition, I hear. I mean, can you believe that? See, you know how some people get all red and itchy when they touch a dog or cat? It's that, except for people, so, I'm sorry. I wasn't trying to be disrespectful. I beg your forgiveness. Why don't you speak your mind? It was, it was like the white-hair girl, being sent away as the servant, from the house because the painter had an affair with the mother and gave birth. So I'm just like, maybe there's that whole thing about, like, something going, like, somebody's sent away because of, like, indecent stuff, maybe. What? This is what's going through your mind right now. I have nothing to apologize for. No, that's not... I can somewhat sympathize with your plight, being made to apologize, even though you're hurting. I raised my hand against you first, after all. Then you forgive me? Sympathy does not equate to forgiveness. Now, you take care of the package. I'm heading back to my chambers. I felt like we were getting somewhere there, and then, no, we're gonna have to wait to find out some more about this. What is it? You're not going to make me leave after what I just did? No, I am not. For it would seem I cannot make you leave on your own. Oh, for it would seem I can make you leave on your own whenever I so please. Ooh, what does that mean? Besides, I had yet to learn what she had done. It would be exceedingly difficult to get the story from her own mouth, which left me with one option. To write a letter to my mother, as much as the very thought revolted me. Oh shit. Maybe, yeah, like, maybe something, like, something happened. Maybe she had an affair, like the painter had with the mother, and maybe she got sent away. That was the teeny tiny mistake. Ooh, interesting. Except, I say an affair as if, like, she consented to it. The way that she reacted when Michelle grabbed her, I feel like if anything happened, it was not consensual. But we'll just have to find out. Alright, so what an episode that was. So with the conclusion of the fourth door, everything is turned on its head as we learn that at least the fourth door was a fabrication. And it wasn't the white-haired girl at all. It was Gisele, aka the maid, the whole time, who was telling basically a more romantic version of what actually happened. And we are forcing Gisele, the maid, to go and see, like, to see what actually happened, because it seems like she's just been repressing her past. So obviously something happened there. So my question is then, who is the white-haired girl in all this? I mean, I'm assuming there was that moment where at first I thought, like, oh, am I the white-haired girl? You know, the master, it's me, based on, like, what Gisele said about, like, you know, oh, I call you master, but, you know, could call you mistress as well. I'm still a little confused about, like, am I the white-haired girl? I think me, the master, it's gotta be, it has to be Michelle, right? Because Gisele was calling Michelle master. He was the first one. He was her first master. And then she just ended up being trapped in the mansion. So I'm assuming she did make a deal with the witch, and maybe the truth of what actually happened is Michelle, maybe they did have a romantic relationship, although it certainly doesn't seem like it right now. It's off to a very rocky start, but maybe they do eventually fall in love. Maybe Michelle did actually die. Maybe she did make a deal with the witch, and she was forced to live in the mansion, be stuck in the mansion, basically waiting for Michelle, and having to be the maid for all of the people that would live in the mansion from this point forward, never aging, never being able to die. hoping that Michelle would come back. That seems to be what the case is, but my question is still, where does the white hair girl factor into all this? All the times that we saw the white hair girl in Giselle's stories, because we saw Gisele as the maid in the background. So who is this girl, this white hair girl that keeps showing up in all of these stories? And what is the truth of Gisele and Michelle? Like, there's so many things I need to learn. This was such a great episode. It feels like I've been given some answers, but there's still so many questions. So yeah, I am super excited to find out more about this. So I hope you guys did enjoy this episode. And stay tuned next week, where hopefully we'll find out some more about Gisele and Michelle and everything else. So yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I will hopefully see you in the next one. Until then, bye. Special shoutouts to my top tier patrons: Nana, Kaori Makoto, Revealing Storm, Tequila Mockingbird, Jared Fan, Izzy Ibo, Asborn Kennedy, Harry Gazif, Icognito, Locus Corollas, and Mad Goldsmith.